Hi guys, it's Ruben here with another game review, and this time it's for Yonder, the Cloudcatcher Chronicles made by Prideful Sloth. The game is advertised as a pacifistic open-world farming adventure, but the game is more than just about farming. Besides farming, you'll be exploring the vast landscapes within the island the story takes place in, crafting a host of different things by collecting materials from the environment or through trading with NPCs and assisting numerous NPCs with their own quests leading to unique stories that are completely independent of the main storyline. Also, when they advertise this game as a pacifistic game, they actually mean it. The game is really charming and it tries its best to portray the beauty of exploration, gathering, and crafting. Now, I'd like to preface the video by saying that this is a review copy of the game which was given to me by Prideful Sloth. I'd like to particularly thank Cheryl for connecting me to the right person to talk to about this, and also thank Zack for hooking me up with a code. Thanks for the opportunity to review this game, Prideful Sloth. The first thing to talk about is the story and premise of the game. To be totally honest, the story is very simplistic and at times innocent. When I say innocent, I mean that the story tries its best to not introduce any kind of violence as possible. The premise is that you are a newborn child in the island of Gemea. Due to some unfortunate circumstances, you are sent away from the island with nothing more than a compass called the Celestial Compass. Some type of darkness is spreading in the island while covering and blocking areas with purple mist. This mist is called the Murk. That is the opening itself without too much spoilers. After you get to customize your character, the game starts off with the main character returning back to the island on a ship, with directions you get from the Celestial Compass, which leads you perfectly to the island. Due to a rough storm, you shipwreck and find yourself on the island by yourself, but you get to meet a spirit named Airy. She instructs you to explore the island, waking up spirits just like her and to help heal the island. These spirits are called sprites. Over multiple hours of the story, you will learn that the whole thing was just an experimental mistake and no one was truly behind the spreading of the darkness. It was a genuine mistake and a miscalculation. See, that's what I mean. The game doesn't introduce any malevolent forces in the game which you have to overcome. You're just rectifying a mistake which was something unforeseen. That's what I truly commend about the game, as the game itself is presented in a charming and innocent manner. If it tried to introduce some kind of evil presence in the game, it would take away from the overall experience. But Prideful Sloth have done a great job in presenting a consistent tone throughout the game. The game tries its best to bring you a positive experience, as even though darkness is spreading throughout the lands, the one thing that the game tries to convey is that there is hope. Everyone in the island has hope that one day someone might be able to change the island for the better. This kind of positive message is what the game does a great job in conveying, as when you play the game you feel warm on the inside, as at times it tugs the right heartstring when you're going through the story and interacting with the many NPCs on the island. The overall story isn't necessarily long. It's like 3 to 4 hours if you know where to go exactly and what materials to gather. But the overall goal that Prideful Sloth wanted to convey is that the story is just a factor to introduce you to the second main character of the game, which is the island itself. This island is divided into 8 different zones, each with unique terrain, weather, fauna, flora, trees, etc. These zones are called biomes. As mentioned before, the game doesn't necessarily push the story down your throat. The story is just there to bring you to this unexplored island, which then you can choose to explore freely on your own or just tackle the story straight up. Although finishing the story to get it out of the way might be a good mentality to go for, it's best to try and explore the island for the multitude of wonders you can discover. That's what Prideful Sloth nails perfectly, as the synergy between exploration and gathering only amplifies your experience by preparing you to heal the island of areas blocked by darkness. Overall, think of the story as a slight backbone that introduces you to the island, which is the main thing that the devs want you to explore. As there isn't too much hand-holding in the game, you want to take your time to create your own unique experiences. Not everyone will do the missions in the same order, nor will they explore the island with the same path. Although a bit innocent in the way the game approaches exploration, it still does a wonderful job in giving you the reins of what you want to do with the game. So a small advice I can give is just to enjoy the environments of Gemea by freely exploring it without extensively worrying about the story too much. The one criticism I can give about the story is that there is no sense of urgency within the story of the game. This is a good and a bad thing, as many times throughout the story it's mentioned that the darkness is spreading and it must be contained, but during the story when you explore the game there isn't a rush for you to act upon it. If you want to, you can finish everything else in the game and then worry about the story. There is a sort of narrative dissonance here, as when the story tidbits happen, you feel the urgency of the situation that the island and her people are soon going to be doomed. But once that story tidbit is completed, it's back to exploring freely and gathering. Sometimes it does irk you, but it's understandable from a gameplay perspective, as for the gameplay purposes, there isn't like a timer when playing the story to rush you to completing it. It's a minor complaint, but some people who are into the story might also find it bothering them. As mentioned before, the story is light in nature, so it shouldn't be too much of a bother. The next thing to talk about are the graphics and performance in the game. The first thing you'll notice is that the game is filled with rich, beautiful colors. The world that Prideful Sloth have created here is just simply stunning, and the best comparison I can make for the visual design in terms of the world and the people in it is by comparing it to The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. This game borrows heavy influences from Wind Waker's visual design. The character designs in the game are at times quirky and at times ridiculous. The approach to make the game to look like a cartoon is done eloquently throughout the game, as there is a lot of charm to the world that Prideful Sloth has created. And the most important thing is consistency. The game does a wonderful job trying to match its visual design with the story's tone, which, as explained before, is both lighthearted and endearing. If the game had a super gritty feel to it, and then had visuals that make you feel like you're living a pleasant dream, it would feel awkward. But for a game that tries to be pacifistic and approach everything in the game with a positive and happy attitude, the visuals do a great job. The game does feature a day and night system with dynamic weather. The day and night cycle is pretty quick, and depending on the biome you visit, the weather can drastically change. Everything is animated beautifully, and the main character does react to these conditions. For example, when it's snowing or you're in a snowy terrain, your character will shiver a bit. Or when it's raining, you will wipe off some water. The attention to detail is executed well. As mentioned before, there are 8 distinct zones in the island with different types of fauna, flora, and terrain. They all look distinct, and you will definitely feel like you're progressing to a different area when going through them. One thing to particularly note is the fauna density. It's definitely a lot, and it's noticeable when at times you go through an area where there's a huge grassland to cross. It's not like the environments are static as well. When the wind blows, you can see the leaves of a tree sway, and even each thread of a grass move by its own, and independent to how another thread of grass moves. When something splashes in the water, you do see the ripples from where the splash originated. Now, these may be things that seem silly to mention when so many other games can do it, but this is a smaller budget game. It has to be commended that Prideful Sloth paid attention to detail and added it where necessary. I already mentioned that the humans look quirky just like in Wind Waker, but what about the wildlife? Well, they are even more quirky. Prideful Sloth has taken real-life animals and have made amalgamations of different animals into their own creations, like the Groffle, for example. It's the first animal you will come across, a super cute and irresistible animal. It looks like a moose, but you can bond with it and raise it in your farm to produce milk like a cow, so I guess it's this world's cow? I mean, I'm not really sure. Then you got the Squamble, which looks like a beaver at times, but it's actually really overgrown. It looks like a squirrel, like an overgrown, I don't know how to explain it, it's a squirrel. It's still a cute looking creature, but you would never expect to see something like it. The same thing with all the other animals, they are each distinct and cute in their own way. It does have to be said that the game can get intensely bright at times during the daytime, so you'll probably want to lower the overall brightness. I'm not sure what went wrong here, but when the sun comes up, at times the contrast isn't balanced and you can blind yourself. The nighttime though is an absolute wonder to behold. As you're traveling through the world, many times you will stop to appreciate the nighttime sky. The sky is beautifully presented with the moon basking you with its bright glow. There's also a ton of detail here as well with the stars and constellations you can spot on the sky. It's a perfect time to take pictures as some moments are truly wondrous and something you'll never forget. In terms of frame rate, the game does a very good job of having it consistent. The only time I've ever noticed dips in frame rate are right after completing a quest or when chopping wood or crushing stones with your hammer. Only during these moments the game will stutter for a second. It's definitely noticeable during these moments. Other than that, your journey through this island should be a pleasant one. The next main thing to talk about is the audio design, which is simply astounding. Now, to get things out of the way, yes, there is no voice acting in the game. Everything is written text in the game and you will have to read it, with the characters making some sort of, goofy noise in the background. Every character has their own little quirky noise that they make. Now, this is very much similar to the Zelda games where the residents of the world don't talk. It's fine, as I'm sure with the limited budget that the devs had, they chose to focus on other important things like the melodic and endearing music. It is beautifully done here and at times gives you a warm feeling. The music is soft and never too intrusive and perfectly complements the moments displayed on the screen. The best moments for me personally are during the nighttime and when the piano solo comes into play. It's moments like these that are hard to capture when playing a game, where you just stop everything you're doing and just take it in. In that respect, the game does a wonderful job. Even the ambient noises have to be commended here. Sometimes the music will just disappear for a while, and during these moments, you can hear the noises from the environments which make you feel like you're actually there. When using really good quality headphones, you can hear a cricket chirp right behind you, or a groffle's noise in your farm when it's happy to see you return, or a bird gawking in the right. Even the water splashes on the beach are distinct, but can be overshadowed by a fox's shout right behind you. The audio feedback when you do something such as completing a quest, or when you use the right tool to gather materials in the environment are also well designed. It's art to explain, but in the 15 hours that I played the game, I never once felt like I lost connection with the game. Nothing ever goes blank, nor does the game ever go silent. It always captures your attention with something, whether it be the poignant music or the ambient noises that indicate interesting things in the environment that is within your reach. Overall, I feel the audio design here is masterfully executed. And so here is a small sample of the audio you can expect from the game. Now the main thing to talk about is the gameplay, which is simplistic in nature and yet at times complex. The story is as simple as it can be. Follow the compass, which will point you to the next main objective to complete. During your exploration of the island, you will come across various tools given to you by the residents of Gemea, which you can use to gather a multitude of materials from the environment, including rocks, stones, wood, leaves, seeds, metal ores, etc. There's actually a ton of stuff to gather and the list could go on for days. Everything you pick up can be placed in your bag that you carry around with you. The materials you pick up are not just there for show. Each item in the game is there for a specific reason can be used to craft different things that people might need or you might even need to progress in your journey. For example, you pick up a ton of stones and rocks and even wood. Say you come to a part of the game and it requires you to build a bridge. Sometimes you'll need some planks and twine. These can be crafted by using wood and vines you gather. But other more elaborate bridges need stone archways and stone blocks. These can only be built by first joining the appropriate guild that can teach you how to build these more advanced things. There is a lot of synergy with what you pick up and also do in the game, as you may think you're just completing a quest for a random NPC, but in truth you could be finishing a quest that gives you a specific item which is needed to complete another quest. Also, crafting is a huge part of this game. There are guilds for pretty much everything, specializing you in becoming a great chef, carpenter, tailor, or even a tinkerer. Again, you're not wasting time in partaking in these guilds as you will learn numerous recipes that can aid you in your journey. Now let's get to farming. Yes, it's a huge part of the game, as each zone in the island has a couple farm locations where you can set up a farm if you have the materials. You can store excess items in the farm storage box, which is really important because your bag will always run out of space. Make sure you manage your inventory appropriately as you will run out of space really quickly. In the farm, you can build shelters for animals that you can bond with in the wild. The bonding process is simple. Go up to any animal and as long as you have the food that the animal likes, you can feed it to bond it with you. Now slowly lead it towards the farm and have it stay in the farm. As long as you have a shelter big enough to house the animal, it will reside in the farm. Now, you're not just keeping these animals here in the farm for show. Your farm is actually the main source of income for you. The groffles, for example, you take care of, can produce milk which can be traded, and fur can be made from animal shedding. You can even cultivate your land to produce food which can be traded. Now, I always say traded and not sold. There is a reason for that. You can't sell items in this game. There is no monetary currency in the game. Everything in the island is traded for, meaning you choose the items you want to trade from a trader and the game has an arbitrary trade value for each item. Now, you can offer items from your bag that can match that value, or you can offer more value for the trade to occur. This is a very interesting mechanic, as most times in exploration games you just want to sell the loot and extra stuff to keep that money. Here you will have to plan ahead and micromanage your inventory, or it can be really painful when you need specific things and you will have to either discard an item or trade for less value. There is fishing in the game, which is introduced in a form of minigame. Throw your fishing line into any body of water and the shadow of fish appear in the water. Now move the lure to the fish and one will bite it. Now the goal is to tilt the left analog stick in the opposite direction to where the fish is going, to tire it out, and to eventually snag it. Some fish have really high trade value, so it's worth to spend some time fishing. Also, it's pretty fun to try and snag all 19 different types of fish. Well, one isn't even a fish. Yep, look at this. This is a worn out old boot. What is actually going on with this game? I don't even understand. Now, the main goal in the game is to go around and clear places of the purple mist called the murk, but you will need Aries' friends, the little spirit companions called the sprites. You will meet one very early on in the game called Lumio. There are 25 others just like Lumio around the island. Now, you don't need all 26 to complete the story or to remove the murk in the island, but you will need a fair bit of them to clear the majority of the important ones in order to progress the game. This is where the exploration part comes in, as you will have to scour the island to find these small cute creatures. There are also collectibles in the game in the form of stray cats, which you'll have to find on your own, as there aren't any maps that can lead you to them. You will just have to listen to their meow in the environments while exploring the land. There are also collectibles such as constellations and other stuff that you'll have to find out, like you'll have to finish, such as collecting all the fish, bonding with all the animals and stuff like that. There's quite a ton of stuff that you can actually do here. Lastly, there is a map you can consult in the game that shows everything the island has to offer. Now, the game won't populate the map till you yourself have discovered these points of interest, meaning you can't just mark a point of interest on the map and have the game guide you there. You truly do have to use your own navigation skills to explore the island. Now, getting from one side of the map to the other can take a long time, but fret not, as there are portals you can use to warp small distances depending on the time of day, and there are teleport stones called the Sage Stones. There are 8 of these Sage Stones, which can transport you from one zone to another. Before you get the ability to use the Sage Stone, you do however have to complete tasks specific to the stone. The teleport feature is super useful, but I do wish there were more Sage Stones, as sometimes you might make a wrong jump and end up having to retrace for a while. Also, you physically have to travel to the Sage Stone to use it, whereas a simple feature to use it from the menu would have been really nice. Overall, the gameplay is quite varied for a game that is choosing a pacifistic way to approach things, and many times you will pleasantly be surprised with just the exploration aspect of the game, as there are many Easter eggs and surprises you can find within the island of Gemea. As mentioned before, the story itself can be completed within 3 to 4 hours if you know where to go and are fully focused on completing it. Exploring the entirety of the island can take anywhere from 10 to 12 hours, and full completion of quests and tasks for each biome can take anywhere from 20 to 30 hours depending on your exploration skills. So that's it for Yonder, the Cloudcatcher Chronicles. So overall, what do I think about the game? For me, I also consider the fun factor. You see, I'm really new to this genre of games where you're just peacefully exploring the world. I play a lot of games that focus on combat, and so when I play this game, it's a whole different experience for me. I enjoyed my time with the game, and it hooked me from the beginning with its charm and simplistic gameplay and world design. My moments that I shared with Groffle were inexplicable, as it's a virtual made-up animal, but my bond with it is still something I hold dear whenever I boot the game up. That's when you know a game has got a hold of you, when you can give that kind of care and attachment for an aspect within the game. I'm sure for many people that enjoy freely roaming the world on their own will also appreciate the game. This is a perfect game for someone new to gaming to jump in and enjoy the game. And as I mentioned before, it is very simplistic gameplay wise, but that doesn't lower the enjoyment factor one bit. Of course, gaming veterans of this genre can optimize their farms to produce the best products to make a ton of items with high-end trade values. I feel like you do have to have an open mind when playing this game, as exploration, gathering, and completing quests are the main hooks for the game. So try to temper your expectations when you're thinking of buying the game. There are a few negatives I do want to talk about. First, the absurd contrast when shifting from night to daytime can blind you. Now, this isn't a problem if the day and night cycle are slow, but in this game you can go through 4 to 5 days within an hour, which can make it difficult when playing and you have bright colors trying to kill your eyes every 12 minutes or so. Next is the user interface. For the most part it's fine, but when you have like 10 tools to cycle through by pressing L1 and R1, it can get annoying. It would have been really nice to have a wheel, like a weapon wheel in other games, where you hold a button and switch to the tool you want. So in this game it would be considered a tool wheel. It's something that could speed things up. Another thing that is a bother is the fact that you can't put markers on the map. This is really annoying, as many times you can get easily lost in the game. If there is a point of interest, please let us mark it. I don't want to open the map 15 times before I get from point A to the point of interest. The celestial compass is great for quests, but why can't I use it for things in the environment I want to try to get to? I understand that they want this to be a totally unique experience where you'll have to fully explore on your own, but try to do it like Skyrim, where you give us a compass on top of the screen, which makes it easier for us to navigate on our own. The final thing I wanted to point out, which could be very controversial and subjective for many, is that the story is truly short. Not much is explained till the end, and it's pretty predictable when you pay attention to the little story tidbits that are thrown your way. I just wish the game was a little bit longer, and I was just sad to see it finish, I guess. I wonder how you guys will feel about it. But other than those minor negatives, the game is really fun to play and can many times surprise you. The game is only $26.99 in Canada, or whatever your regional equivalence is, and for PS Plus members there's an additional discount. The game is well worth its asking price, and with all things considered, I give the game 8.5 out of 10, and that is based on my enjoyment of the game. In terms of giving a recommendation to purchase the game, I would say absolutely yes. For people that love exploration, gathering, and farming simulators, you will find a ton of enjoyment with the game. And for people who are like me and have never tried these type of games, I would suggest to temper your expectations, and I'm sure the game will win you over with its charm. Overall, the visuals are adorable and vibrant, which are all complemented with endearing, melodic, and soft music. The story is simplistic and yet charming enough to act as the backbone for the gameplay, which gives you full freedom to do whatever you'd like, whether it be exploration, gathering, farming, or for many, just playing with your virtual pets. You make your own experiences in the game, which is quite different to many games nowadays that present you with a specific tailored experience. This game is truly unique, and for many, the memories you make in this game will not be easily forgotten. And that's pretty much my take on the game. Again, I'd like to thank Prideful Sloth for giving me the opportunity to review their game, and I'd like to thank you guys for watching the review. I hope you guys found it informative, and I hope it helped in making your decision on whether to get the game or not. If you guys are still on the fence, you can watch some of my gameplay that's up on the channel or anywhere else before making the purchase. If you guys found the review helpful or enjoyed it, a like goes a long way to help me out, and I really mean it guys, it does seriously help me out. And for all the newcomers, welcome to the channel, and consider subscribing as it helps the channel grow, and to also stay tuned to my future reviews, gameplay coverage, and guides. That's pretty much it for this video. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, take care. And if they ever add online for this game, I'll see you in Gamea. See you guys.